100 minutes. How do you measure a year? How about love? How about love?
Penn State Musical Theater alumnus Christian Thompson learned his lessons well at University Park. The 2015 graduate is touring the United States in the 20th anniversary production of Rent. Thompson co-stars as Benny, an ambitious landlord, but he also understudies the role of Roger, a down-and-out musician. Anna James speaks with Thompson about Rent's themes and whether they hold up 2 decades after the show debuted. He also talks about how his movement style was incorporated into the choreography for Benny.
First of all, what is it like to be on the national tour of such an iconic Broadway show, and what are you most looking forward to?
It's amazing watching the reaction from the audience every night and seeing the people that know the words and seeing how much people love this show. I'm most looking forward to probably coming back to Penn State. It's been a couple of years now, and being able to see my professors and know that we did it in a way. It's a group success, so that would be great.
Now, you were only a toddler when Rent first appeared on stage. How does it feel to be part of the 20th anniversary tour, and do you feel any heightened pressure or responsibility to deliver on this anniversary?
I think whenever you care for a show as much as I do, it's been with me for, like you said, most of my life. Whenever you care for a show that deeply, there's always that added pressure that you want to make sure you're doing a good job. But I think with the cast we have, it's almost impossible not to. You just go out on stage and you trust the work that you've done and you trust the people around you, and it's hard not to deliver such great material.
When Rent debuted on Broadway 20 years ago in 1996, the themes present in the show were very heavy topics back then and still are. But do you notice any difference in how the material is delivered now with our society versus how it was 20 years ago?
I think the beautiful thing about Rent is that it centers around a bunch of universal themes of love, of of inclusion in the community, and finding your community. I think those type of things are so timeless that it really doesn't lose much steam. My cell phone might look a little different on stage, but it definitely feels very much relevant to now.
Are there any changes from the original 1996 production that you can give us a sneak peek to expect with this tour?
A good amount of it has been upheld from the original Michael Greif staging back in 1996. But one thing I can talk about is I was very fortunate we worked with the original choreographer, and she enjoyed the way that I personally move. So a lot of the choreography that Benny does throughout this show has been modified and changed a little bit. It's a little more present day, a little more hip-hop influence, just to support what my training is. It was one of those things where she was like, well, I'm thinking of something that looks like this, or I've heard of, or I know something that looks like this. And I would go, well, this is what I have in my repertoire. This is how I feel this. And she would either go, yep, that's it, or nope, try again. And so after some trial and error with both Marlise Yearby, who's the original choreographer, and our associate choreographer, Miri Park, they were absolutely great helps, and as well as giving me some space to be creative on my own.
That's really interesting. And now you play the role of Benny, but you're also understudying the role of Roger. How do you manage juggling 2 very different characters and the responsibility of knowing both roles?
I think both Benny and Roger live in me in a very special and unique way. And I think the casting team saw that in me. And because of that, I have the good fortune to be able to tackle both of these roles. I actually had to go on as Roger when we were in Nashville, and I keep saying it was very much baptism by fire. There was a couple of, dropped lines here and there and stuff like that, but it's all a part of live theater, and so it's part of the job. And of course I had the the great fortune of having the training from Penn State to be able to be prepared to do something like this and have two major roles in my head and not be too overwhelmed.
What was the audition process like for this role?
It was a very quick process for me because I was one of the last ones to be hired for this project. So for me, it was a week long of callbacks where I would go in and they would have me sing a bunch of different sides for a bunch of different characters until the very end when it was just for Roger. I had to also dance for the role. And then I originally was cast as Gordon the man with Roger understudy. And then 2 weeks after I had sent in my contract for that, they called me and said that the Benny they had casted had moved to a different project. And they wanted to know whether or not I would be interested in playing Benny and still be Roger understudy. I actually learned the vocal line of Benny back when I was at Penn State with one of my professors, Beth Burrier. And she said, one day you'll play this role. And here I am.
You've mentioned Penn State many times, and it seems to have made a huge impact on making you the performer that you are today. So what would you say is the primary skill or lesson you've gained from a Penn State education?
It's the little lessons that stick out the most, not so much the overwhelming, this is how you act, this is how you sing, this is how you dance lessons, but it's the little things of, how to be collaborative with people, how to, talk to your castmates, how to respect everyone's process. Those are the things that are so vital, and those are what make or break a tour, making sure that you can give each other space and give each other love and support and make sure you're still doing your job. And those are all things that I started to glean at Penn State.
What is it like to come from performing in Penn State's musical theater program to now experiencing life as a professional?
There's a difference because you don't get graded every night. You can't go and see your director the next day and him or her give you a note while you're in class, or we haven't seen our director in a couple of months now. And I think other than that, it's what I was trained for. I think Penn State did a great job of training me for the profession.
What advice do you have for anyone who is trying to do what you do?
Just keep going with everything you have. I think the one thing that, and this was advice that was given to me by a playwright named Dominique Marisa, but she said, if you serve the art will serve you. And I think that is the most true statement I have ever heard.
See Christian Thompson in touring Broadway's Rent, April 6th at Eisenhower Auditorium. For tickets or information, visit cpa.psu.edu or phone 800-ARTS-TIX.
Will someone care? Will I wake tomorrow from this nightmare?